Welcome everybody to our VBOUT monthly marketing meetup. Today we're going to be talking about successful lead scoring models in marketing automation. It's an interesting topic for those of you who are trying to explore the power of lead scoring and how to deploy it for their business. So stay tuned. For those of you who are with us the first time, thank you for joining us. And for many of you who I already see and are repeat attendees on our events, thank you for supporting us. Obviously, we bring forth this content so we can pass on the knowledge that we have, given that we are a marketing technology builder. We understand the nuances, the application, how companies deploy it. So we really want to culminate all this knowledge and bring it forth to you in our monthly meetup. We do this once a month. Our community has grown substantially over the past 8 years. So this is not yesterday's community. It's actually taken us time. And it's probably close to 30,000 members combined between our own community and just general attendees from all over the place. I'd encourage you to join our Facebook group where we announce all these meetups. We do twice a month, one for general knowledge like this one, and one for product announcements, releases, and everything VBOUT. So we have these special kind of closed meetings for that. So if you're interested, please join our group. My colleague George, who is with us on the call, will be dropping in a lot of links in the chat so you can get access to the resources I'm sharing with you. If you'd like to support us on TikTok, we have a link as well. It's one of those channels where we are trying to leverage a little bit more, and we'll follow back as well. In terms of what we're going to cover, general intros, presentation, and Q&As. Now, obviously, during my presentation, I always keep things open in terms of questionnaires. So anything you want to ask in terms of this presentation, nothing pertaining to VBOUT, particularly if there's a troubleshooting issue, I would like to leave these either to the end or to be directed to support. This is strictly informational. A lot of it is related to VBOUT, of course. So happy to answer those specific questions, but nothing general like asking some random VBOUT technical support. Okay. Now, for those of you who also don't know what VBOUT is, I'm gonna just display this quick video and we can see.
If you're marketing online, you should be using VBOUT. It's a platform to manage everything in one place. Email and nurture campaigns, visual automations, social media, landing pages, meeting scheduling, lead scoring, pipeline management, and campaign reporting. Make gorgeous emails from scratch or select from dozens of high-converting templates. Score the best leads and add them to automations to drive more conversions. Schedule and post to all your favorite social platforms with the best creative from Canva and Pixabay. Engage your fans directly and measure content performance in real time. Easily create beautiful, responsive landing pages and forms to capture leads and register people for webinars on Zoom or GoToMeeting. VBOUT combines everything your marketing and sales team needs in one place. If you're an agency, manage client accounts with custom plans and full white label capability. Marketing online has never been easier. Go to VBOUT.com and try it free today.
All right. So that's what VBOUT is in a nutshell. We obviously have a big focus on automation. That's why we're a marketing automation platform. We made our stack as simple as it could be while not sacrificing our features. We bring forth the product with an amazing price. We're not the cheapest, but not the most expensive. So we have a great balance there. We give you premium support, human support, as well as options to do it yourself. And finally, we are building AI capabilities in every single feature of VBOUT. And we started prior to the Chat GPT movement and buzz, and we're continuing with this buzz. So we kind of a little bit ahead when it comes to building AI features into marketing. All right. So before I dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to those of you who are attending with us. I have Alex Rogozino, Amir. And by the way, guys, just drop us in the chat where you were dialing from. I know some of you are US, some of you are Europe, and some are probably from Australia, logging in very early in the morning, 6, 7 o'clock. So just introduce yourself if you'd like, share resources, your LinkedIn, anything you want to share. Not too salesy, please. And I'll just call you in. I have Alex Rogozino, welcome. Amir Haruni, thanks for joining. Bianca, also welcome back. C. Ross Hedges, thank you. Dave and David. We have Dion Kenny, Emily Gregg, thank you guys for coming in. Felix, Gary Castle, Hope, Jerry Jackson, Jim Brooks, John Dreyer, also welcome. Dyer, sorry. Julius Rainey, Cassandra Laxman, Kyle Mosley, Latasha Martin, Leora Dordrill, Lord Zoom, aka John. Haven't skipped an event for at least a year or so. So thank you for all your support. Minaj Minabutros, Nathan Muller. We have Neil, Randy, Salvador, Scott, Sheila, and Tawana. Again, thank you everybody for joining us on this event. We are broadcasting this on Facebook, so this will be available later. We're also going to be sending you the recording, the presentation, so you can repurpose this presentation for your own use if you'd like to host your own events. All right. So I can see here from London, Philippines, Georgia, California, Oklahoma, Boston, love it, Canada, Colombia. This is amazing. Very cool, very cool. All right, so let's get started. I have two big screens here, so please pardon me kind of going back and forth. But in terms of lead scoring, also wondering how many of you are using lead scoring. So if you are using lead scoring, just put a thumbs up. And if you are not, but looking to implement it, just mention as well that, you know, you're looking, or just put a high five, whatever emoji. All right, I just want to know a little bit who is looking. Here we go. Many of you are looking to learn. So that's good. I always start with general definitions. What is lead scoring and how you can implement it? Obviously, lead scoring is just a strategy by which marketing and sales evaluate leads and prospects. Okay. So as a company, you know, you might have a large flow of leads, or you might have very low flow of leads. It doesn't matter what your lead flow is. There should be a way for you to identify good leads, early stage, middle stage, or ripe for closing a deal, right? That's the challenge for most marketers, marketing and sales teams. So lead scoring comes in as a possible solution. And what it does, it just assigns scores based on the lead's interest in your brand. And usually an interest is expressed in forms of visits, form fills, engagement with your email campaigns, automation. It could be making purchases. It's just general activity. And I'm going to break down every single one of these during this presentation. So taking all those interest points and kind of breaking them down into individual score points, so we can accumulate score to a lead. Okay. So with that, obviously, the higher the score, the more engaged this person is, and the more engaged, the more likely they are ready for, you know, the next step. So this is really what it is from a very high level, and I'm gonna get closer and dive deeper as we go. But it's a way for you to identify the leads based on their activity in an automated way, by the way, to ultimately present to you the lead that's worth moving to the next step. All right. Cool. Sorry, George, I don't know if I have any questions yet. I see some chat coming in.
No, Scott is saying that he uses gamification for certain participation, but not using this data for lead scoring.
Okay. And it could be used for lead scoring, I guess, depending on the things, because the power of lead scoring is that we want to automate it. Once we set it up, we let it do the work. And I'm going to share with you guys some ways for you to identify models and stuff in a couple of clicks. All right. So what are the benefits of lead scoring? Maybe I highlighted very high level, but if I am to dive deeper and see what or how can lead scoring benefit us? I would say one, lead scoring enables marketers to prioritize the lead. So we can focus on the lead that's ready to convert or close enough to convert, because there's a challenge in the marketing world is that sometimes we just deliver the wrong message at the wrong time, or it's either too early, meaning I'm sending case studies for somebody who literally just learned about the product and not interested in the solution, just kind of general learning, versus those who are ready for case studies and I'm still sending them very early stage articles and videos, right? Bridging that gap and using lead scoring can help you identify the type of content you deliver to those, because that could lead to better conversions. And because it's based on behaviors, demographics, firmographics, and much more, the assignment of the scoring is actually pretty accurate, right? Versus a human just sitting there evaluating the lead, which is great, could be done, but it takes a lot. If you have 10 leads a month, that's not too difficult. But if you have hundreds and thousands of leads coming in every month, imagine you're evaluating every lead. So you want to automate it based on those endpoints. And again, the higher the score, and it's proven over and over again, and we've done this deployment thousands of times, we use it extensively at VBOUT. We literally see correlation between a client on VBOUT, somebody who's evaluating, and their score. There's always about 10 to 15% on and off sort of scoring, but it's pretty spot on once you set it up correctly. And companies use lead scoring, or this is kind of a general metric that my team found, they see a 77% increase in lead generation ROI. So it's not in lead generation, it's just a return on investment from your lead generation. This is primarily because the efforts are invested on the proper leads. And this snapshot just shows you some general examples of people who were scored. Some of them were qualified, they have a score of 200. Some of them were poor, -3. And don't mind those points. I just want you to focus on the status itself, because these things you can configure within any platform you use. So one of the benefits is it yields higher conversion rates. It increases sales efficiencies. You have no idea how many times I've seen sales team spend enormous time calling the wrong lead. We do it sometimes, we still do it. If we cannot score leads, sometimes leads come in from third party, they get handed over to us, we have no scoring done, and we waste time trying to follow up with that lead. It does happen. But the key for every team is to be able to have something in place that's going to minimize that friction. So instead of spending 50% of our time on wasted leads, now it's 10% of our time on wasted leads. Okay, and these are just general numbers. Obviously, it enables identifying prospects in the sales funnel. And from a sales perspective, usually sales teams would like to look at where the lead is in the funnel and say, you know what, he's in the consideration phase or early interest. Early interest phase is not for me. This is for the marketing team to do their job at this point. Okay. And of course, bottom of the funnel stuff are not worth communicating with very early. Somebody's just signing up to a blog. The last thing they want to do is get a phone call from sales telling them, hey, we have a product that we want to sell you. Are you interested in it? Okay. So this is kind of increasing sales efficiencies in larger organization is important because it comes down to numbers, salaries kind of being invested in the wrong place. And if you're a small team, you have a different problem, which is you don't have the time, right? So if you do have some time to invest, you want to make sure that you're doing it in the right way. All right. Of course, you can increase marketing efficiencies. And I've sat on many tables where there's a conversation between marketing and sales, where marketing were complaining that there's not good leads, no good leads coming in. And marketing were complaining that, yes, there are leads and they are doing their job and it's not their fault. So by providing good quality leads and increasing conversions, the marketing teams can identify the results of their effort. They could see it, right? Without just sending loads of contacts to the sales team. And of course, they could highlight also the content and effectiveness of their content. Is it working? If their campaigns are spot on, the messages are being delivered at the right stage of the buyer journey, that's going to ultimately reflect on the quality of the lead. And it could adjust pretty much as real time during weekly sprints, communicate what's not working, maybe shift the timelines of the content or swap around content. It could also reduce lead leakage. And this is sometimes where an opportunity gets missed. What I mean by this, I've seen companies look at a lead and the lead has one engagement, but that engagement was super important because it was actually a demo request form that slipped through the crack. And just because sales teams identified this lead with one engagement, they didn't see enough opportunity. Whereas with proper lead scoring setup, I can take that particular action and I can assign it such a high score to push this lead up in the flow. So not missing a lead is also critical. And with lead scoring properly bound up, you can do that. Not to mention, lead scoring works across the board, not only with form fills, and I'm going to explain all the different kinds, but because we track all the engagement, the data points, and some other third-party points as well, like UTMs, referral sources. Most of the data is being contained in its own ecosystem with individual leads. And of course, what that means is better alignment between sales and marketing, less friction on those roundtable discussions where we're not getting good quality leads, we're not getting enough leads, we're spending so much money on ads and we're sending you leads, you're not closing. That conversation can become a lot easier with lead scoring. It doesn't solve everything, of course. There will always be that kind of back and forth, but ultimately you will notice that conversations will be easier. All right. So these are some of the benefits. I'm going to pause here, George, and just take any questions on what are the benefits of deploying lead scoring. Does anyone have anything to add? Any points you'd like me to unpack for you as well?
Yes, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them here or unmute.
All right. Seems to be clear. So far, just high level, the benefits. Now let's talk about what kind of models we can deploy. And I just want you to have an open framework because in my opinion, there's no one model. It could be as simple as just setting things up as you go, or you can identify a framework around which you build your lead scoring, right? There's no right and wrong unless you're just setting up some wacky points, duplicate points, high score, low score. Other than that, I think most lead scoring will be a good fit for you. But let's kind of identify a couple of different models. The first model, I also call it dimension, is the explicit scoring. So what that means, I'm scoring leads, I'm scoring contacts around their data from opt-ins, right? Or if I imported them into the system from the opt-in from the import process. So if I come to your website and I fill out a form, I'm added to the database, and I might have certain types of questions on that form. So this is why I call it explicit, because the person actually filled out a form, or I have the data around them, and I can use that data to score the person. And in VBOUT, we can capture leads with forms, imports, third-party, our landing pages, or our pop-ups. Typically, because I'm gathering this information from an explicit sign-up or input, I can score people based on the geographic details, where they're from, demographic information, firmographic, their company details, right? like job title, level, expertise, revenue, and so on. These could be relevant for B2B companies if you're selling to businesses, and obviously if you're working with somebody who has $100 budget and you're selling a $10,000 a month product, you don't want to score this person high, and that's probably not the best lead. All right. So these are kind of the things from the explicit scoring that you can score people on. And in this example, I mean, on here, you see scoring people based on seniority. VP can get 10 points added to their profile, director 7, manager 4. Okay. Sometimes it's reversed because the VP is not making decisions, managers are. So obviously this comes down to your persona and who is making the decisions at a company. Also the department, depending who you're selling to. If you're selling a financial product, maybe if they're in finance, then it's a +10. So revenue ops +8, and if it's legal, it's +3. So you see how based on your industry, you can take the firmographic details and assign certain numbers to be added to the profile. All right, now geographic locations is also important, and you're going to know why. I'm going to tell you why AI think this is important. I'll leave this at the end though. A geographic is where you're coming from, your location. Now, there are two types of geolocation tracking. One is usually built directly into your product. The VBOUT tracks when somebody opts in. You can detect their geolocation, or you can have a questionnaire on the form asking for their location. Whichever way you want to go, we let you in VBOUT score them on one or both. I usually just say rely on one, which is the built-in geolocation tracking. But if you are using third-party connectors, that's not an option. So you need to do it based on a field, not automatically detected. Okay. Obviously, if you are a local business, geographic location makes a difference. Like if people are from your hometown or from your state or from your city, this will make an impact on advertising. So you can take certain people and target them with ads. You can send them offers. You can score them higher and push them through the funnel. And you can also identify these for niche local products to be delivered to those businesses. It also could be for constraints. So I've seen companies in the EU to actually do negative scoring to demote people from any kind of promotion. So instead of doing plus 100 points, they deduct 100 points from the profile, knowing that they came from Europe for compliance reasons. Okay, I'm just giving an example here. I gave you also on the previous slide on job seniority and title. So if the decision maker in the company you're speaking to is an executive, maybe you can give them 25. I think that's a very high score, but it could be relevant. But if they're an intern, the conversation could have, a different route, and they could be just 5. It's up to you to identify these, and you're adopting your real life business conversations into your lead scoring and not just blindly. What I mean by this is I know, for example, from speaking to thousands of potential clients and existing, there are certain people who make decisions. There are also certain patterns for people who are really interested in making a decision. I took that and I translated it into lead scoring points. Okay. So with this knowledge, obviously you can engage leads more. If someone's an executive and they added 25 points, they could literally push them through a sequence of content through automation that could deliver, executive level articles, downloadables, videos, testimonies that are going to be relevant to them. Okay. Then you also have the company type, size, industry, and revenue. One example with VBOUT is if you're an agency, that's a huge differentiator in some of our modules because agencies live on VBOUT. They have an entire reseller platform. So we usually gather different, or we present different information based on knowing the industry. And that takes an impact on the contact score as well. Okay, I'm just giving you a small example. Not to mention, if you're targeting SMBs or enterprise and you want to push or you want to add higher scores accordingly, these are usually collected upon filling out the form. Okay. So this is based on the size of the company, the industry, and the revenue. I think this is just self-explanatory. So this is in terms of explicit scoring. I also call it the first dimension, which is around the lead data itself, things that they filled out themselves. It also includes tags that you used and the dates of the signups, when they signed up. It could be if they're, like recent 30 days ago, that could be a score. If it's older than that, it could be a different score. Okay. Any questions on explicit model?
We don't have questions, but John mentioned that he is using Quiz app, which score the results, and then he is feeding them into VBOUT.
Thank you. So John, yes, that could be a way to do it. And by the way, you can craft your own ways of doing lead scoring. It doesn't have to be confined to what VBOUT provides. We use it where you do this via tagging. So in VBOUT, we allow you to create any kind of tag that you like and then associate a score with it, right? So there are some ways that you can get creative with lead scoring. And I've seen companies automate lead scoring via automations, behaviors, and much more. So that's a good idea. All right. The second model is implicit scoring. What implicit scoring means is an actual activity or engagement that the person has taken as in the course of learning about your product. These things could be filling out a form, visiting web pages, requesting a demo form, starting a sign up. There are different ways where you can associate higher score with that activity, but now it's actual lead taking physical or doing, I don't want to say physical because it's just browsing, but physically visiting, physically clicking and engaging with your brand. Okay, we're turning these now into score points. Okay, and we have so much in VBOUT. I think we have, I don't know, about 30 or 40 different activities that we can track as part of the implicit scoring based on what the contact is doing. Okay. Now, because that is a reflection of the interest, it's pretty accurate. Nobody's wasting time on your website or engaging with your brand or product if they're not interested, genuinely interested, unless they're a competitor. In which case, a competitor could have high score, and I've seen my competitors on our site with very high scores, which flatters us. And it should flatter you if you have that as well. But overall, implicit scoring gives you insight into the potential intent of the purchase by tracking the behavior patterns. All right. Now, in terms of visits, I think one of the highest form of implicit intent is filling out a form. They physically found a form or they searched for it and they entered their information, requesting data, signing up to an event, downloading a PDF. That's really probably one of the highest. And I usually score them nothing less shy of 20, right? Unless if it's a blog sign up, maybe it's 15 or 10. But because it's a good form of intent, it's almost like a transaction. Giving somebody money, I give it a higher score. Okay. And this doesn't have to be just a demo form. It could be a simple pop-up for downloadable, as I mentioned. You can also, track those multiple form signups. You don't want to keep scoring very high if you have multiple sign up. And you have to be careful. Sometimes you can automate moving people in lists. Some of you who are doing automations, internal automations for list housekeeping, I've seen them face this problem where they have all their forms being scored, and they're moving people between forms and ultimately leading to very high score when somebody just signed up to a blog article. So just be aware when it comes to stacking your form scoring. It's a good point to be very conservative and be aware of what are the forms that are the most active. All right, now when it comes to demo booking and free signups, in my opinion, that's probably the highest form of engagement. Somebody requesting you to talk to them about the product because they have questions, or somebody's physically evaluating. I don't know why this screen shows 15. In my opinion, this is worth more. So that's probably just a quick caption. But I encourage you to assign higher score for somebody filling out a form. Obviously, this is self-explanatory. Why? Because they move beyond the awareness phase and are more likely to make a decision, or they're in the final stages of evaluation. All right. Now, downloadables, content, be it ebooks or white papers or videos. And for some reason, I just feel like the word ebook and white paper are becoming outdated. Who feels like this? Nobody talks about these as much anymore. Most people are now mentioning videos and, you know, AI content writing and like with a twist. But I haven't heard the word ebook for a while beyond what me and my team have conversations around. But downloadables in any form or shape, it doesn't have to be just these, gated content to be specific, is a really good form of engagement. And the more robust the content, if it's, you know, a 16-minute video speaking about AI, that's a really good indication that somebody's interested in watching a 60-minute video. Now, the sign up doesn't mean they watch the whole thing, but I guess you get the point. The richer the form of downloadable or gated content, the more likely there is interest. So you can kind of associate the scores based on that. And investing time, again, I always look at filling out a form as a transaction. It's like giving you money because everybody's information is extremely valuable. So if they are giving you that data to get your content, that's an intimate moment, and they're ready to invest their own time, which everybody has a very limited time to invest in any product, they're showing it to you. So now I'm just giving you examples, guys, of implicit type of lead scoring, so you can think about it from your own perspective. And these are very simple. Nobody has unlimited amount of ebooks or downloadables. Nobody has unlimited amount of forms. And you can do these in just a matter of a day, jotting them down, assigning a specific score, and then implementing them in VBOUT. Awesome. You also have webinar attendance. So when somebody attends the webinar, someone attends a webinar like this one, you can tell VBOUT to score them. And we have those filters in VBOUT. And you can see right here, because Zoom webinar, not Zoom meetings, webinars, we can score the amount of minutes as well in some cases. So if they stay beyond 10 minutes or 5 minutes, then they could get a specific score. Or just by attending, that mean they logged in without tracking the time, you can assign a specific score. Now, I don't usually like to do like an odd number. I like to just round it up to the 5 or to the 0. So if you like random numbers like 17 is okay, but for me, I gave this example because it might throw off and give you random numbers, right? Unless you have increments of 1. So what you're looking at here is just somebody attending webinar. You can score the contacts. You cannot score the anonymous, because anonymous meaning I don't know who they are. They're just a random IP. And if someone is attending a webinar, I have their information, right? That's what that means. And because they're attending live, that means they're interested in your topic. If you're talking about a topic like this one, or if you're talking about your product, that's a good area of interest, because not only is lead scoring is not only about selling, it's also about customer retention, loyalty campaigns, You want to see how people are engaging with your brand beyond just the purchase phase. And this is where I've seen a lot of companies get stuck, is they focus on making these scoring for purchases, and they forget that those who continue engaging with you beyond the purchase stage is actually an amazing lead. And the higher the score, the more, in my opinion, should be getting your attention, exclusive offers, special calls, requests, follow-ups, and so on. Okay.
Rich, we have a question from Scott. Can a
Sure.
score be added for a user logging in to the VBOUT dashboard and limit the score to 1 time per day or once per 8 hours, for example?
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to look into that. That could be a little bit tricky signing up to VBOUT because we need to be able to track them. Now I'm thinking that's probably from an agency perspective, right, Scott? We need to get some sort of a tracking. I don't have that data on the login basis, but I can check. I can check if there's a workaround it.
Yeah, or maybe like it could be maybe Richard, like having a vanity URL before signing up, or maybe if the dev team can create some sort of a URL before the signing up stage, logging in stage.
Well, the only issue is that lead scoring requires the tracking code installed. The tracking code cannot be installed on our white label dashboard. That's just one of the limitations. So it needs to be handled slightly differently. We can certainly gate certain things before getting to the sign-in, but that's another story. It could be maybe done through API. You have to look at the endpoints. That's a great question, Scott. Thank you. All right, then we have email activity as well. That's probably the most common. It's just how often people are opening emails. So if somebody opens an email, you give them 5. And because if you're an active email sender, you don't want to score this too high because people can be opening but not necessarily interested in buying yet. If they click, that's another form of engagement. So the more they open, the more they click, the more they accumulate scores. And with that, they could push themselves to the funnel. And not to mention that email could be open, click. It could be conversion on the website as well, slightly different. And it could be other things like unsubscribing and stuff like that. So I'll talk about that in a second, and we can associate negative score with that. All right, so what are the best practices for lead scoring? Before I move forward, any questions?
Wilson from Facebook said he's glad to learn this stuff. So thank you for your feedback, Wilson.
Welcome, Wilson, as always. All right. So let's talk about the best lead scoring practices. So create the ideal customer profile, right? Who are your best customers? How do they look like? And in VBOUT, we have a persona builder. George, if you don't mind, if you can share that with the on the chat. You can build it yourself on a piece of paper. You can use a template, or you can use our form, which we built a nice one that you can create a great looking example. So this customer profile, like this one, for instance, the title is a marketing manager. So now you know if somebody filled out the form in the explicit format and they answered marketing manager, that could be scored higher. The organization is 100+ employees and the industry is finance. If this is your ideal customer, and you can have multiple, then obviously you can build your scoring around it. So the first thing is create the ideal customer profile to craft that persona. And because you're scoring them based on their criteria, obviously you know that these are the kinds of people that convert, your scoring is going to be more accurate. And the content will be more specific to them. If you're doing content delivery based on lead scoring, then that would help. Of course, you need to identify the different touch points, and this takes a little bit of manual vetting by going through the leads that filled out forms, converted in initial phases, and just browsing through the different engagement. For example, in VBOUT, we know that people can engage with an ad, be it a cold ad or a retargeting ad. So there's some sort of an engagement there. And because we track UTM, I can associate a score from a person coming from an ad. So if somebody's coming from Facebook, I just drop in 10 points, right? That's actually a lead that we paid for. And then they come and engage with our websites and different touch points. So we assign scores for that too. And this is where they go into the consideration phase. Then they start engaging with forms and they fill out a form. That's another form of engagement. Now they might be going into the high interest or the purchase phase. Then you have retention and advocacy. So you can see the different touch points, and every company is different, of course. Identify your own graph. You might have more touch points, but you can have less touch points. There's no one way or one model fits all. As long as you have a general idea, you don't have to be accurate, guys. Don't beat yourself over this. It could be just general understanding of your ecosystem. For example, Wilson has a lot of engagement from his Facebook groups and communities, which is one of the first touch points. And then people go to his website and they fill out his newsletter opt-in. And from his newsletter opt-in, they start engaging with emails. And from his emails, maybe he retargets them somehow, ultimately to become an advocate or a client. But you can see how he can easily identify his ecosystem and focus on those touch points in this scoring. Okay. All right. You can ensure seamless marketing and sales coordination. And again, this is a serious problem when it comes to larger companies because of this kind of gap between the two parts. The leads are not good. Why you're sending them to me? Oh, we spent a lot of money getting those leads. You should be closing better. Let's get a grasp on this conversation. And with lead scoring, they can collaborate because then they can both look at that lead and they could identify their touch points. And they could say this should have been scored less, or this should have been scored more, or let's just scrape up that scoring paradigm altogether and start from scratch. Also, some type of very specific content, and I've seen this with B2B companies, can be strictly shared by the sales organization or the sales team, not necessarily the marketing. These could be case studies, private closed demo requests or demo sessions. It could also be advanced paid for research papers and data that the sales team paid for. So you can segment your content and have like the free for all kind of anybody can access content for marketing. But once they have a higher score handed over to sales, sometimes sales invest in articles, they invest in data and research, and this could be shared only at that advanced level, right? This is where you really want to get intimate with the client by giving them as much resources as possible. All right. Now, in terms of developing your lead scoring system, and George, I don't know if you have any questions on Facebook.
No, it's fine, Richard. No questions.
Cool. George, you have the lead scoring sample that I usually use. I think Elsa also has it. If you have it, please put up the link. I want to share it with everybody here, and I'm going to visit it in a second.
Yeah, I will.
Yes,
I will look for it.
sure.
But there are some basic things that you should do when developing your own lead scoring system. Do not get overwhelmed. This is actually simpler than it looks. First, you identify the interactions that are relevant for your business. So let me pull that sheet real quick. I think I have it as well. Yeah, I'm gonna need it. I thought I have it saved, but I lost it in my new computer.
Yeah, we are sending it. One moment.
All right, so this is an example with me just drop it in here. Oops. Sorry, guys, I have too many things open. Okay, so this is VBOUT. This is statuses, and you can see in different stages. This is the awareness stage. We have obviously the most leads, 15,000. We have some people with poor data. That means that we're not discounting those leads yet. They are in a good place, but they haven't really showed enough interest. So I'm never going to send people the leads that are at this stage, right? I have about 83,000 people in this stage. And mind you, I'm scoring two buckets, contacts and anonymous. Contacts are people who I know exactly who they are. Anonymous are people who are just general IP address. They haven't identified themselves yet. And I could have two different funnels. All right. But generally speaking, I have 2,000 contacts with emails and names in the early stage, 15,000 in the awareness stage, 3,000 in the consideration phase. These are people who are probably actively evaluating VBOUT, engaged enough. 4,000 in decision, and the decision phase is going to depend strictly on you. If you have a long sales cycle, that means the person got a proposal, they got the contract, but they need a month or two to sign it, right? During that month, we can continue the scoring. You can scrape this, but in VBOUT, we have about 3-month sales cycle. So we have an active sales cycle. Then you have people in the conversion, and finally in the retention phase. I'm sorry, decision cannot be scraped. I'm talking about conversion. I apologize. I mixed those two together. Conversion is that phase where people are taking some time to decide. So you can merge conversion and retention. And in VBOUT, we have probably close enough to that amount of active signups on the system. So these are close enough percentages to reflect accurate lead scoring. Okay. So this is fully automated. We don't really touch this. We already set this up with all the score rules that we have, things based on Academy sign up, on registrations, and all the scores can be easily added from here. So there's no, confusion. The contact data, the engagement, everything that I covered literally is available at your disposal. All right, so let me open up that file real quick.
Yeah,
this is the framework.
I just tried the lead scoring framework.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is an Excel file. George, share it with everybody. Please feel free to download this. It is sort of private for our community. Feel free to share it with your community if you'd like. But you'll see on the bottom, I have like the different tabs. So what are the data sets? You can literally just say, okay, the contact data that I collect are these. And these are the things that I'm going to score them based on that data. Anything that's black here is blocked off because they're anonymous. Then you have the engagement data. This is the implicit, visiting pages and doing things. And I have what I call the general filters. You can combine these with engagement. So this is like device type, UTM, source, that kind of things. Okay. This is the funnel that I just covered as an example. You can group your interests. This is just for marketing jargon. And here you can take inventory. What are the different pages on your site? And you can collectively with your team associate a score with those pages so that could be implemented on VBOUT. Here you have a workflow, scoring workflow. We just suggest that based on a specific score to fire out an automation. Automations can include things like emails, SMS, internal assignments, retargeting, web push. When people are in different stages of the campaign awareness, they consume different content. So this is what that is. And you can take other inventories as well on the bottom. Like this is on the seniority, data fields, etc. Okay. It's a really nice, it's an Excel. Download it if you want to deploy this and you have a team, you want to have that conversation. This could be a helpful way to start. All right. So identify the relevant interactions. You can use that sample sheet that I shared with you and start there. Where's my mouse? Okay, here we go. And identify the lowest scoring items, like homepage visits is low score. Maybe spending a minute on the website is a good score, but still low. And then just go up in importance, right? Or it could be the other way around. Filling out a demo form, signing up from high to low. So identify these and then go ahead and score them. And don't worry, you're not getting it right for the first time. This could be a work in progress. After a month or two, you can look at the leads and you can say, oh, Michelle actually spoke to my team. She has a score of 90. That's a good scoring model. All right. You can also use negative scoring, by the way. I mentioned this earlier. When people unsubscribe, they bounce, they complain that your email is spam. You can deduct things from their score. Even sales teams can add tags to say this is not interested lead, not qualified, this is not a good fit. Just by adding a tag, I can remove points from the lead because I want to push this. I want to push them back in the evaluation process. Sometimes it's minus 100 or minus 1,000. I want to push them real way back. This just gives you an accurate snapshot of your leads. Okay. This is an example here, nothing too crazy about some people, and I showed you some on VBOUT. Maybe I'll give you an example again. Sorry, I have like my setup is new here. So I can see all my leads have been scored. You can see them in the retention phase, and I can look at the anonymous visitors who I don't know who they are yet. Some of them have very high score, which shouldn't be surprising because they engage, but they never convert. I have 128,000 of them in the evaluation phase. You can see it right here at the top. Okay. And there are some filters to kind of go through the statuses and get a little deeper with this. This takes a little time. There's a lot of contacts here. But I guess you guys get the point, is that you have the ability to have a snapshot of your leads, and you can dive deeper inside every individual to see all the different things they were scored on. Okay. This is the statuses for anonymous. And if you have multiple domains, you can actually see how different domains have been scored. Okay, this is going to take a little bit because the anonymous is pretty heavy. All right. So how the leads were accumulated here using implicit and explicit, and the higher the score, the more likely engage. So let me bring this screen back. So you see these are my IPs. They're shuffled for privacy reasons, obviously, but you can see their geolocation. VBOUT is actively scoring them. They even have a profile based on which we are scoring them too. And it's okay to score people based on the things they're doing. We don't know who they are. We just know some general information about them. Okay. This one has some activity. All right. And I think this is the lead funnel, which I skipped ahead and I showed you. You can configure these, by the way, guys. You don't have to go by these colors. You don't have to go by these labels. You are in charge of your own funnel. Adopt it for your business. And I always say, use the colors you like, the terms and the descriptions you like. And of course, the range. Some companies, they only have 3 different parts of the funnel: early, interest, purchase. That's it. Okay. In VBOUT, we allow you to customize these so you can adapt them for yourself. And you can add more, or you can deduct, if you like. Okay.
We have a question. Is
Sure.
there any, is there a very, sorry, is there a very first step to take in the lead scoring framework?
I think the very first step is to watch this if you haven't watched it from the beginning. Download the Excel file that we shared and start gathering your inventory of pages, activities that the users do, and what you want to associate in terms of lead score. I'm going to show you one more trick to get you started, just so you can grab some ideas. You can use the default funnel that VBOUT provides, by the way. Don't worry about this. What you're looking at is an example, but it's also available by default. You can customize this later. So if you add or remove stages, the system will update the existing content accordingly. Okay. And I have in our academy a lot of resources on this. So there's a session on lead scoring. You can watch that on its own, and I show you exactly how to set up lead scoring in VBOUT. Does that answer your question? Okay. Now, guys, what I want you to do is I want you to be very positive about lead scoring. I actually tried with Chat GPT, and I always like to add an AI angle to things we're doing. You can ask Chat GPT, can you suggest a lead scoring model for a yoga studio? So it didn't matter with the typo here. And immediately it gave me some suggestions. It says demographic information up to 40 points. If their age is this, then associate 10 points. If they're female, 10 points. Live within 10 miles, 10 points. So it gave some suggestions. And then I asked it for a university. And then it gave me some suggestions as well. So if you are running out of ideas, that could be a starting point right here. Ask ChatGPT to give you some based on your industry, and you can ask it to elaborate and say, can you give me some scores on, I don't know if it's going to understand implicit scoring. All right, so now it's giving me some implicit scoring ideas based on my industry. So you literally don't have to create the wheel, just feed it information about the business. So for instance, you can say, we are a marketing automation platform for B2B or B2C. We have a lot of AI features and 12 plus tools. Can you create an implicit and explicit lead scoring system for us? And just let it run. Get creative with your prompt, and it gives you some ideas. All right. Does that help, Julius?
Richard, Julius is asking, what was that engineering prompt you used?
I just answered an example. Feed it as much information about you, Julius, and your business, and then ask it the prompt. I think sometimes that could help. All right. And you can always type more, please, or generate more ideas, and it gives you more ideas. All right. This is it from my end, guys. Any other questions on this? I'm happy to answer. I can stick around for another 10 minutes to answer your questions. Now, if you have logged in late, do not worry. We will share this presentation along with the recording with you, so you have access to everything. Everything that I covered can be deployed in VBOUT. So if you have a VBOUT instance, you can use lead scoring however you want. And I promise you, lead scoring is a very rewarding tool to identify your leads and where they are in the funnel. Okay. In terms of setup, not only you can do it yourself, you can leverage our resources, academy, and you can ask our team for any help. If you'd like a demo because you don't have VBOUT and you are adopting a marketing platform, George will be leaving a link in the chat so you can speak to our success manager and identify if VBOUT is the right fit for you. One of the biggest things we have this year is that we are implementing a lot of AI. So I can just generally get a prompt going right here, for instance. I can start a new chat. I can go to my plugins and you can see VBOUT installed. And I can say add contact Rich plus webinar at VBOUT with name Richie and last name Fala to list clients. Sorry, can't see beyond my computer here. And send. So that usually should execute it. Now, if it doesn't, because I need to update my plugin, this was a pre-release, but it goes through VBOUT, unverified because we are pending release, and this will give you an answer. That list doesn't exist, so you need to choose a different list, or will literally just add me to the list called clients if it finds it. All right.
Rich, we have a question from David. Do you have
Sure.
a list of AI commands you can share with us?
Love it. Look, type in help. There you go. So we have about, I don't know, 30 commands. That is correct, Julius. This is the Chat GPT plugin. You can download it now. All you gotta do just go to GPT-4. Obviously, you know it has to be GPT-4. Scroll to plugin store. Soon we'll have up and running here. But install an unverified plugin. You see it on the bottom. Type in vbout.com. It says it hasn't been vetted. It's okay. You can trust us. And then you can log in with your VBOUT and just get rolling with it. Okay.
He is
So
also asking if he can connect his WooCommerce. If he is using WooCommerce integration, am I able to lead scoring with WooCommerce? I think he is asking if he can connect.
Yes, you can absolutely connect WooCommerce with VBOUT using our plugin. We can, I don't know if you know, you can unlock the entire e-commerce layer in VBOUT, which is its own technology. We can have automations and filters. Now, lead scoring is not on e-commerce data yet, okay? For a few reasons. It will be. But if you are using lifetime value, you can use some automation tricks to tag people. You can actually move them between lists. And you can use those as points for lead scoring. So if they enter the list called e-commerce, for instance, they could be scored much higher, okay? We have plans in the future to score e-commerce activity, but it's not available in the filters dropdown yet. But the integration with WooCommerce is very, very powerful. I highly encourage you to do it. Cool. Any other questions? I like those questions.
Yeah. No, just checking. I think we answered the last question of Julius. Yes. So, and on Facebook, no, everything is fine. Hi, Adrian from Facebook.
Cool.
I think now they prefer to ask ChatGPT instead of writing here.
Yeah, that's true. They could get probably better answers there. Cool. Well, this concludes the session for today. Again, I want to thank everybody who joined us from all around the globe. All the data will be shared back with you. We have our VBOUT partner meeting. Everything VBOUT releases at the end of this month. It's the last Thursday. We have some great releases as well. The plugin is one of them, but also some amazing updates on our form that you can leverage. Other than that, enjoy the rest of the month. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you on an upcoming event next month or this month. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.